Hello, everybody. This is Love from Above with your Sibling Spirit Guides. I'm Maureen, and this is my brother.
Hey everyone, this is Brian.
Yeah, we're so happy to be here. On this podcast, we share channelings we receive from star beings, ascended masters, mythical beings who really exist, and occasionally our ancestors. And today's topic is all about angels. Who doesn't love an angel? They've been depicted since for thousands of years. They're in every religious text known to mankind. And Brian, did I ever tell you that occasionally I see an angel? It's the most beautiful thing in the world to see those wings respirating, moving like above you, backwards and forwards.
So how often do you see an angel?
Not often, not often, but I can vividly remember the first time I saw one, and it was above me, and it was when I was living in downtown St. Petersburg, and I was like, oh, first of all, a lot of artists got it wrong because let me tell you, those wings go above the head. I mean, they're massive, and it's just such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sight. So it's not something I see often, but boy, when I do, it is certainly memorable. Um, so yeah, so today's topic, we're going to talk about the formation of angels, their early contact with humans, and a message from the angels themselves.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'll kick us off. So the first message was from July of this year, just a few weeks ago, actually. And so the Watchers, which you've heard before, they say they watch over all those that come into existence, and this has been our charge from the one Creator. We were mistaken early upon our visits to your holy ground. We were mistaken as angelic beings. This often occurs as humans are unsure how to categorize the otherworldly beings that present before them. Can you relate?
Yeah, and you know what's interesting to me about those set of statements is that they said on our early visits to your holy ground and not plural. So I would love to know, I mean, this is a monologue that we're receiving in channelings, but my big question is, what is the holy ground? Um, so yeah, it's very, very interesting. They went on to say that they were originally a subset of angels, but that has changed. It has been so long ago that we morphed into a new reality. It's as if comparing the infant you were born into this life with your present magnificent being. There is little or no relation. So apparently they used to look like angels, but now they don't. So that's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, that is interesting. And yeah, it's so when we talk to them, you never get a vision for what they look like today, though, right?
Early on, I used to get visuals and the words, and then we were probably channeling about 3 months. I don't know how many months into it, and they said you have to stop with the visual images because the visual images are specific to me. Like if someone else were channeling, they would see different visual images. So I really only focus on the words and pulling in the words. And so yeah, I have no idea what they look like. But the Watchers are who we're hearing through the most right now. Brian says we're like a telephone box in Times Square because usually they come through and then they'll bring in somebody else. Who knows? It's always a surprise.
Yeah, they've said there was a lot of people that want to communicate with us. So yeah, because I know this is different because most people that channel like one entity pretty consistently. But Maureen, you're just channeling anyone and everyone. So
Yeah, I'm open to it all. It's all a gift. So then they went on. So all of this information basically came from the watchers, and they began to discuss angels. And they said angels harken back from a prehistoric time when light was first fractionalized into form. In this way, angels retain the greater amount of the one's dynamic light presence. This is why your artisans and religious leaders portray them as divinely lit. It's as if they were the first to be past the family dinner and took the largest portion. For this, we are grateful, for we can see our future, for we are continually augmenting our light quotient. So, yeah, I mean, they took the biggest portion of light, and I guess that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting analogy, though. I don't know what to make of that, but um, so I think we've mentioned this. We also do this meditation that invokes all the different archangels, and I think they reference that next. If you want to go on.
Yeah, so then this was on a different session, just like I think a week later, and they said, we come forth now to continue our discussion regarding the angelic forces that have been rightly documented in your historical books. The group that you call angels have no more divinity than you do. They are no closer to God than you are, though they were birthed into existence before most of humankind. In this way, they may be seen as wise sages to consult, but humans who regard them as otherworldly beings are mistaken. Angels have intercourse with humans since the dawn of time. And they said, like the watchers, like ourselves, they are charged with watching over all the Creator's creations. So interesting. So many people put the angels like that they're, a higher divinity than humans, and that they're, well, certainly it says here that they're wise sages to consult, but they they're no closer to God than we are. So that's inspirational.
Right, right. That's interesting. And the other thing I was going to mention in the earlier week, they did say you're wise to deploy the angels to work with you, as many have forgotten these powerful allies. They become trinkets to dangle from a necklace or a keychain. The real significant power of these mighty beings is often hidden amongst the trivial. So that's why I was thinking of, so it says we're wise to deploy the angels. And so we call on the archangels as part of this meditation. And I don't do it daily, but I do it pretty regularly. And then we know they've come through, right? So um, again,
Yeah, and Metatron has been here. I am actually visiting Brian and his home in Texas, and Metatron is here. And I don't see wings with Metatron, but he looks like a big giant. Remember Ghostbusters, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? That's what he looks like a just big giant, but much more handsomer, much more handsome, much more handsome. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's just a giant being. And honestly, when you have someone come in who's that giant and that's powerful, like it really is kind of like, woo. They aren't a little trinket to dangle from the keychain. Like they are, they've got immense power be behind them. So yeah, it's interesting. And how blessed are we to have we were playing with the pendulum and just asking who's around, and just a lot of people who I thought would be around weren't, but the angels were around us. So thank God for that.
yep. And so in one specific instance, then also you had a channeling with Archangel Michael, who's part of the group, that one of the archangels that we channel. And he said, this is interesting because I thought what I've read is a lot of times angels have not been incarnated on earth, but he said, we walked among your people as we do now. However, the diffusion between the angelic realms and humankind was not dispersed. Those of your brethren could easily regard our countenances. So does that mean it was easier to contact the angels in the past?
No, what I took from that is it's like the days when the gods walked among us, that they were literally here. And so like right now there's these, the veil is apparently it's getting thinner, but the veil is thick between us and the other realms. But I mean, I take that as that it was like when the gods were on the earth, the Anunkai and the Nephilim, like we could just um remember the session that we channeled with about Noah, that that Noah was like playing like a game that we don't no longer have with one of the Nephilim, and that's how we found out about the flood. So yeah, it's just really interesting. So just to remind you that, and I know you've said this, Brian, like all of this stuff is real. Like, the fairies, we just did a session on the fairies and the genies and, the giant, all of those are real, as are the angels. And, they're real beings. It's not, and this is a discussion I used to have with our mom and dad. I don't know if I ever told you this, Brian, but I'm like, you know, how can you not believe in angels? Like they just didn't exist in the Bible. Like, it's not like they were around thousands of years ago and then they're like, oh, forget about humankind. Like they're still here, So I don't know. They're real beings, and what a blessing we are to hear from them and to have them in your house and to receive messages from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, next, I guess they have a lesson from the angels. Why don't you go into that?
Yeah, so they said our lesson is with regards to self-love. Others may view this practice as selfish. However, there is no greater love, for this is where the holy and divine resides. The expansion of your holy and divine portion of your soul allows you to receive greater portions of love. This is the answer the mystics realized long ago. Those who retreated into silent monasteries or solitary caves came upon the knowledge that the greatest treasure, the greatest wealth is within. Once this treasure is accessed, then it may be dutifully shared with the world. Then comes a responsibility to share this important prospect. Until then, it's wise to focus on expanding the love and the light within. So isn't that interesting? Like, you're only supposed to focus on self-love until you expand that light, that treasure,
Right.
and then you have a responsibility to share it. But until then, you got to do your self-love work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, I love it. And they said, never fear this light can be diminished, for it always burns bright. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And you know what that reminded for our listeners, we had a beloved aunt, our Aunt Janet. And one time I got a message from her, Brian, and she said that like a pan that gets, like say you have an old pan and it gets black on the bottom, but it still works. And the same thing with us. It doesn't matter like how much negativity we absorb, how much we're still carry that divine light and nothing can diminish it.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got a message about Archangel Gabriel. So it said he is the angel most frequently mentioned in your religious text. We use the pronoun he, however, she could also be adequate, for angels are not assigned sexes, nor are they capable of procreation. The signature call of this archangel is a brilliant color white. Each of the archangels comes forth bearing their signature call. Archangel Gabriel was known for his trumpeting sound that announced his arrival. But I think this part is really interesting. However, they said now that music is a part of humans' daily rituals, daily life, your ears are not attuned to hear Archangel Gabriel's call. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, everyone's got their headphones on and no one can hear the trumpets over here. Trumpets are like you tune it out. That is really interesting. But the other thing I was going to mention, I thought it was really interesting how, yeah, all these archangels have men's name, but we know that they don't have a sex. It reminds me of our grandmother. What was the shirt that she used to wear? It was like God, something she will provide or something. Or
It
it was,
said women serve in the House and in the Senate or something like that.
I remember when she had about God being a woman, but I mean that's the whole point. It's like the this there's been a too much of a focus on males in control, and that's not the case. So anyway, I thought that's interesting as well too. But yeah, Gabriel is the one I believe that came to Mary and announced that she
Right.
was pregnant, and yeah, so there's all throughout the Bible is there's all sorts of references to Gabriel. So
And let me tell you, in Islam, Gabriel was the one who gave Muhammad the teachings.
okay, yeah. So
Yeah. So Gabriel was, is very, very important. They went on to say that the color is a better way to signify Archangel Gabriel's glorious presence. A blinding white light should indicate the presence of the archangel. So I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I mean, you've had that happen where all of a sudden, like, there's a blinding white light, like, the sun just comes into the room in an odd angle or something like that. And now I'm going to know that's probably the presence of Archangel Gabriel.
right, something to be aware of, definitely.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on angels?
Well, I'm just grateful that we have this connection and can hear from them, and you've channeled some of these great messages from the angels and archangels. So I'm sure we'll get more as we go. But yeah, it's always interesting. Like I said, you never know what's going to happen. But I'm
Yeah.
grateful that we've got these messages and can share them with all of you.
Yeah. So my closing thought was from a session just a few days ago, again from the watchers, and they said, "We come forth with messages of good news. We herald fortuitous timings that will soon occur for those who can become aware of the greater resonance of light. Light is the true nature of the one creator." So we can all use good news. And there you go. Fortuitous timings will soon occur. Um,
Love it.
yeah, so we leave you with that message. We'll talk to you all next week, and thank you for listening.
Bye, everyone.